Okay, let's start with kinds of fractions. Okay, so what are the kinds of fractions? So here, first we have the proper fraction. So what are these proper fractions? Take a look at this first figure here. So the whole figure represents one whole. Then it was divided into three equal parts, and one part is shaded. So we can say that 1/3 is shaded, correct? 1/3 is shaded. So if you notice, that 1/3 is less than one whole because the whole figure represents one whole. So meaning 1/3 there shaded is less than one whole. What about the second figure? It was divided, again the whole figure represents one whole. It was divided into four equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Meaning three parts are shaded here. So we can say that 3/4 is shaded, correct? And that 3/4 is less than one whole. Again, since the entire block represents one whole. And what about the third one? Again, the whole figure represents one whole. It was divided into, if you count, there are 8 equal parts, and two parts are shaded. So we can say that 2/8 of the figure is shaded, right? So if you notice, 1/3, 3/4, and 2/8 are all less than one whole. So when we talk of proper fractions, these are just fractions that are less than one whole. And the easiest way to know if the fraction is proper, you just compare the numerator and the denominator. The numerator here, if you notice, is smaller than denominator. So with this, and so with this. If the numerator is smaller than denominator, that fraction is a proper fraction. Okay, let's go to the next kind of fraction, which is improper. So here we have improper fraction. So how do we know if the fraction is improper? Look at here. Here there are two rectangles, correct? And these two rectangles represent two wholes. The first, and they are divided. They're divided into three equal parts. Each square rectangle here was divided into three equal parts. The first rectangle, all the parts are shaded, as you can see. So that means one whole shaded, correct? But here I have only one part shaded. So we can say this is 1/3, correct? So here I have one whole shaded, which is, again here, there are three equal parts and they are all shaded, and that's equal to one whole. So that one whole is the same as 3/3, right? Now, if you add all the shaded parts, that will give you what? If you add the shaded parts, 3 plus 1, that's 4. Then copy the denominator, just copy the denominator. So if you get all the shaded parts here, it's 4/3, or 4/3 is shaded. Now, a while ago we have a whole number and 1/3. So meaning the shaded parts is more than one, or are more than one whole. So 4/3 is more than one whole because it's 1 and 1/3. Okay, so 1 and 1/3 is the same as 4/3. So it's obvious that 4/3 is more than one whole. So if the fraction is more than one whole, it's an improper fraction. What about here? All the parts are shaded, so that's one whole. Or, since there are 4 equal parts and all the parts are shaded, we can write that as 4/4, correct? So the shaded here is one whole, or 4/4. So aside from that it's more than one whole, If it is 1 whole, it's also an improper fraction. So 4/4 here is also an improper fraction. So again, to know if the fraction is improper, it should be more than 1 whole or 1 whole. The easiest way to know is you just compare the numerator and denominator. If the numerator is bigger than the denominator or they are the same, that fraction is improper fraction. Okay, let's have the third and last kind of fraction, which is a mixed number. So take a look at these two figures here. So the first figure, all the parts are shaded. That means 1 whole, right? 1 whole is shaded. And here, what part is shaded here? There are 3 parts shaded, so in fraction, that's 3/4. 3/4 shaded. So here you have a whole number 1 and a fraction 3/4. So if you put together, you get a mixed number. So a mixed number is simply a combination of a whole number and a fraction. So let's put them together. So you have 1, then 3/4 here. There. Again, if you combine a whole number and a fraction rather, you will get a mixed number. So 1 and 3/4 is a mixed number. So it's easy to identify a mixed number, right? Because it's just a combination of a whole number and a fraction. Okay, that's a mixed number. Okay, let's talk about changing mixed number to improper fraction. So let's have a mixed number. Let's say 2 and 1/5. So here we have a whole number 2 and a fraction 1/5. So that's a mixed number. So how do we change this to improper? So what will you do? You simply multiply these two. This 5 times 2. So let's put it here. Multiply the numerator 5 and the denominator, the whole number 2. There. Again, multiply 5 times 2. Then add the 1. Okay. So plus 1. Then just copy the denominator 5 here. There. Again, denominator times whole number plus the numerator. So let's multiply and add. Let's do it here. So 5 times 2, that's 10, right? Then plus 1, that's 11. So let's put 11 here over the denominator. What will you do? Just copy the denominator. 5. So if you notice, the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So it's now an improper fraction. So you can say that 2 and 1/5 is just the same as 11/5. Only this is mixed number and this is improper fraction. Okay. Okay, let's have one more example. Let's have 3 and 2/5, or let's say 2/7. Okay, here you have whole number 3 and a fraction 2/7, right? So let's change these to improper. Again, multiply these two, 7 and 3. So let's multiply 7 times 3. Again, this is 3. Then after that, plus the 2. Okay. Plus 2 over, just copy the denominator here, which is 7. There. So let's multiply 7 times 3, that's 21, correct? Then plus 2, 21 plus 2, that's 23. Okay. Then just copy the denominator 7. So 2, 3, and 2/7 is just the same as 20, wait, 23 over 7. By the way, this is 7 again. This is 7. Okay. Only, this is mixed number. This is improper. If you notice, 23 is bigger than 7. So it's an improper fraction. So the answer is 23 over 7. Okay, this time, let's talk about changing improper fraction to mixed number. So let's have an improper fraction. So let's have, let's say 7. Let's have 7 over 3. This is an improper fraction, right? Okay, before we will change this to improper fraction, 7/3 is just the same as, or it means 7 divided by 3. It can also mean 7 divided by 3. Okay? So, to change this to mixed number, you just simply divide 7 by 3. So, let's divide 7 by 3 here. 7 divided by 3. So, how many 3's are there in 7? Yes, there are 2. So, let's write 2 here. Then 2 times 3, that's 6, correct? So, 6. Then subtract. So, 7 minus 6, that's 1. So, that's our remainder, 1. Correct? So, how do we write this now to mixed number? So, let's put equal here. 2 here is our quotient, the whole number. This is our whole number. So, we put 2 here. That's our whole number. Again, the quotient is the whole number. Now, the remainder is our numerator. There. So, let's write the remainder 1 here. And the denominator, just copy. The denominator is 3. So, just copy that 3. There. So, we have a whole number 2 and 1/3. So, that's a mixed number. So, we can say that 7/3 is just the same as 2 and 1/3. So, if we check, a while ago we discussed changing mixed to improper. So, if you check 3 times 2, that's 6 plus 1, that's 7. Then copy the denominator 3, that's 7/3. So, that's correct. So, again, 7/3 in mixed number is 2 and 1/3. Okay. Let's have one more example. So, let's have an improper fraction rather. Let's say 10 halves. 10 halves. So, again, this means 10 divided by 2. So, let's divide 10 divided by 2. How many 2's are there in 10? Yes, there are 5, correct? So, it's 5. So, 5 times 2, that's 10. So, if you subtract, so there is no remainder, it's 0, correct? So, what if there is no remainder? So, what could be our answer? So, our answer is just a whole number. So, here the whole number is 5. So, the answer is just 5. If there is no whole number, if there is no remainder rather. So, the answer is just a whole number. If you check, 10 divided by 2 is simply 5. So, here the answer is 5. Okay. Okay, let's have the last topic in this video, which is lowest term fractions or simplest form fraction. Okay? So, how do we know? First, how do we know if the fraction is in lowest term or simplest form? For example, if I have 3/5. How will you know if this is in lowest term or simplest form? So, what will you do? You get the GCF of 3 and 5. Can you still remember how to get the GCF of 3 and 5? Or you may think, or you just think of the biggest number that can divide this and this. What's the biggest number you can divide them? Yes, only 1, right? That's the only number you can divide 3 and 5 here is 1. In that case, you can say that the fraction is in lowest term. So 3/5 here is in lowest term already. Okay, what about, let's say, 3/6? Aside from 1, what can you divide 3 and 6? The biggest. Be sure to think of the biggest number to divide. So the biggest you can divide 3 and 6 is what? Yes, 3, right? Both can be divided by 3, and that's the biggest. And that's the GCF. So if we will divide them by 3, you get what? 3 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3, that's 1, correct? What about the 6 and the 3? 6 divided by 3, that's 2, correct? So how will you know if 1/2 now is in lowest term? Check. 1 and 2, you can only divide them by 1. So again, in that case, the fraction is in lowest term. So 1/2 is the lowest term of 3/6. Okay, let's have another one. Let's have 4/10. What can you divide 4 and 10? The biggest. Be sure to use the biggest number. You can divide them by 2. Yes, the biggest is 2. So let's divide them by 2. Let's divide this by 2. Okay, what do we get? 4 divided by 2, that's 2. What about 10 divided by 2? That's 5, correct? Is 2/5 in lowest term now? 2 and 5, you can only divide them by 1. So 2/5 is the lowest term of what? 4/10, correct. So that's how to change fraction to its lowest term. Again, go back here. 3 and 5, you can only divide them by 1. Again, in that case, the fraction is in lowest term. So to change fraction to lowest term, if it is not in lowest term, you simply think of the biggest number that can divide both numerator and denominator, and that's the GCF. Then divide them, then you get the lowest term fraction. Okay? So that's all for now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.